You look really good.
Thank you. Well, you and your family healing all of us. And I haven't seen you since your dad's passing. And my deepest condolences to you and your mom, of course, and your family. But I just think of everything he's done for, of course, for you as a family, as a dad, but for the whole world. Just chokes me up.
Yeah. It's an amazing thing. It's great to hear just how many lives he's touched and, so many people have reached out and
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, life well lived,
yeah,
but
absolutely. So he did so much good and it's just continues. So
good. Well, please let me know how I can support the cause, you and your family. I just love what you do. I think it's so important and it's more vital now than ever, I believe, with, the greatest act of not resistance, but personal empowerment is to take control of your health.
absolutely. It's one of the few things that we do have some control over, just
Right.
what we put on our plate and the
Yeah.
steps that we take and, it makes a difference. So
Yeah.
feels
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, would you like to ask me questions? How
Well,
do
I
you
have
like to do
questions
this?
to ask, but also
Okay.
just tell me your story or anything you want to share.
Yeah, of
But,
course.
I've known you for a while and you've been on this
Right.
journey. So, it would be great to hear how you got here and
Yeah, of course.
so far and how you're doing and
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about that in advance of this conversation, and I am turning 65 this year. And when I was in my late teens, I had always been overweight as an adolescent kid. And I'm sure it was that Midwestern, you know, way of eating back in the 70s, 60s, and 70s. And so I went on the Atkins diet, right? And I knew you'd laugh. And I lost weight, but my health suffered tremendously. Like I stopped getting my menstrual cycle. I was anorexic. I mean, it was just terrible. My digestion was terrible because, of course, there's none of the good things that we know we need today. So I ended up talking to someone who was a vegetarian, and he convinced me to start to eat more, not exactly a whole food plant-based diet, but in that direction. And I got a job at the local health food store, and I was so impassioned about it that I really wanted to help other people. And I thought we could do better at the store, and they weren't interested in any of my ideas. So I dropped out of college, and I started my own health food store in 1980, back when I was 20, in Michigan. I was
wow.
on the western side of the state. So I've been interested and I loved that. I did that for 8 years and it grew and grew, and I was really into helping people. And so I've always had a keen interest in what is it that we can control and we're putting in our bodies that um, affects our health. And I knew I got better when I started eating a healthier diet. So when I sold my business and moved to the East Coast, I went back to school and I studied public health. And what I realized, of course, I knew, but I realized we're in this huge public health crisis where obesity rates are skyrocketing, diabetes, all the things. I'm not telling you anything new. But there was so much noise out there in the system. So, I never was like, I know I didn't want to go back on the Atkins diet, but like what, all of the things. So I had some heart issues and my dad died of heart disease. So I thought, you know what, there's got to be a solution to this. And that led me to Forks Over Knives and Dr. Esselstyn and Dr. I'm spacing on his name, Colin Campbell, Dr. Campbell and the China study. And that was great. And then I found your dad and your family. And the beauty of what you teach is it's so simple. It's just so simple and doable. And it just cuts out all the noise. And it's not one diet for your heart and one diet for your diabetes and one diet for your hypertension. It's just put these things on your plate every day. And it's kind of paint by numbers. And your mom and you have done such a great job with the recipes, and I have your mobile app. And that's what led me to the course because I was like, stop the insanity. I have to follow one same path. And that's what brought me to your course. And I absolutely loved it. And I couldn't recommend it more highly for people because you get to do it now in your home as much as I would have loved to have been on the retreats with you all, but you get to cook and you get to learn how to cook. And now it's just part of our lives. And about a year and a half ago, my husband had a stroke. And we didn't know that he had a stroke. He just had an occlusion of part of his vision, but no other symptoms. And we happened to be on a river rafting trip in the Colorado River. So it was kind of a perfect storm. But, all things considered, it could have been much, much worse. And I attribute, he has no residual, no paralysis, nothing. And I attribute that to the way that we eat. And so I just, my brother's having health issues back in Michigan, and I'm like, I have the solution. I'm coming. Get your rice cooker out. I'm coming.
I
So
love,
that's sort of a compressed story, but what I love and appreciate about your program and your teachings and the legacy of your father and what you're now carrying the torch with your mom and everyone at the company is that if you just give it a chance, it really does work. And I'll tell you what, when I was in your 12-day program, I'm going to be 65. So that was about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. There were people my age who were really unwell. And to see, I mean, certainly I experienced the benefits, but to see people with heart failure, with really significant heart disease. And I know how, having studied that, I know how debilitating that can be for people. And it's so beautiful. It's such an elegant solution.
it
So,
really is. And you're right, it's simple. It's just getting people to do it. That's
right,
the challenge, but many people know what they need to do. It's just doing it in an environment that's not set up for
right.
this healthy living. So how have you been successful? How have you been able to cut out the noise and stay the path?
Yeah. So I've lost almost 40 pounds. Yay. And so those are some of my results. I was having knee pain from a fractured bone in my lower, and some damage to my knee. And I love to ski. So that was really bumming, and bike and hike and golf. And so that was really bumming me out. And my orthopedist said, if you lose some weight, I said, yes, I'm aware. That will help your joints. Um, so I got really serious about it this year and I put all of my tools to use. And what I've been using that has really helped, and I would recommend highly, and I do recommend to everybody, is batch cooking. If you don't have the right food in your house, you can't suppress your hunger. I mean, like you're going to be hungry, right? And so either you have good choices or you have poor choices. So I've really taken to heart cleaning up our environment, having food. And we also live in a beautiful, beautiful valley up in the mountains north of Salt Lake. But there's not a lot of good restaurant choices. I mean, like three, and they're not good restaurant for me. Um, so it's like if I don't have a Whole Foods right around the corner, or a great vegan restaurant or things like that. So I've really taken to heart getting into the batch cooking. And we recently moved to a larger home, and now I have all my kitchen accoutrement. I'm just like, I have my not one but two Instapots. I think I have a third one in the garage. I have my Vitamix. I have, my nonstick pans, and then a pantry that's filled with rice and beans and salsa and things so that if, in the summer we have a farmer's market, so I try to collect more fresh foods. But, I think it was Jeff Novick who was like, you can have rice and beans and a can of salsa or some frozen vegetables, and you just combine those and you're good. So I think prepare. preparing yourself for success and keeping your environment clean is really, really important.
You learned well.
Well, and I have to thank all the people that your father has and your family have touched, like AJ, and all of the different. I don't know if you know Tammy and Tom from Nutmeg Notebook. Of course you do. um, they're the batch cooking, people, and just keeping your environment clean. And I work with people with mindset and helping them understand, how to change their mindsets and reduce limiting beliefs. And what I realized from my mentors is that when we're young, our food habits are so ingrained with us. Like babies don't really pick what they eat. They're given what we give them. But then those food habits become very ingrained in us. And I think that's why, because people know they shouldn't eat a lot of things, but that's so hard to change that programming. But I think if you give it a chance, and that's why your 12-day program is so powerful, in addition to the wealth of all the other information you provide, because you have a lived experience of what can happen in just 12 short days. And I don't know anybody else who's doing anything like that. It's just it's the best gift you could ever give yourself, no matter where your health is. I mean, I know I could go back through and do it again and still take up my awareness several levels and take away things, aha things. So I just think it's a journey to ultimate health. So
I love that. Thanks, Peggy.
yeah. So
Great to see you. You're looking really good and
you.
so glad that you've, really stayed with it and, um, are spreading the message and setting a good example. And that's our goal. That's what we want. So I'm really happy for you.
Well, I'm eternally grateful to you and your family and what you do. I know it brings you joy, and I know you love. Your dad used to say, I'm the luckiest doctor in the world because my patients get healthy. And in the world we live in today, and like I said, keeping up with public health and things like that, it's just very clear to me that if we don't take care of ourselves, we're going to be left to the disease management slash healthcare system and big pharma, and I mean, there's a time and a place for everything, but for what ails most of us most of the time, you guys have the solution.
It's
So
the food.
it's the food, right? It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Do you
Well,
guys
I
have
really,
t-shirts for that? I need a t-shirt. It's
I
the
know, I
food.
know. I need to get those made again.
Yeah. Well, listen, if there's